So I watched a video this morning by Junkman, and if you're out there, Junkman, and you're listening, you missed the most horrible thing that action figures are being done to them. Okay, so out of your pet peeves, your top 10, my number one is that I don't like V crotches. V crotches, unfortunately, I picked the worst figure for this, but it's the only one I can find because all the other ones are in storage, except for somewhere. I know I have a what's his name? The green lizard dude. He'd be an excellent one to show you on because she's wearing over her crotch area this. You can't see it. But she has all the Star Trek figures, basically from this generation, from the 90s, have what's called a V crotch. So when they sit down, which, she can't even sit down because of that dress. I mean, that thing right there, but you can see how the V crotch, basically it's a V, and when she sits down, her legs spread, and it's horribly stupid. So when she sits down, she looks like she's spreading, which is a terrible thing for women to have to do. Men don't do that. Men do when it's hot. So the only figure I could think that it's appropriate for is Riker. And if you've ever seen Star Trek The Next Generation, you know that most of the time when he comes in the room, he puts his leg over the chair and he sits, with the chair back in front of him. So he sits backwards in the chair. I can't get her in a full sitting position, or I would show you and you would see much better how it V spread. So that's a V crotch. That's my biggest number one pet peeve. I don't like T crotches most of the time, but since they came on Star Wars figures and I grew up with it, it's okay. I prefer the third option, which is the ball crotch. The ball crotch is on most of the Beast Wars, really made it strong, but it was way before that. Like the Micronauts, they all have V crotches basically. It's where, not V crotches, ball crotches. Not because there's a ball in there so much a lot of times, but because it has full range of motion. So you can sit forward with your legs together, or if you're in a stance like you're trying to fight, basically it just gives you the maximum range of posability. But since, I grew up with Star Wars figures, the T crotch is okay. It's not my favorite. And some of the Star Trek figures from whatever that company is called, the comic book company, basically, they made them and they just looked wrong. They just didn't look right. So Star Trek is never going to have an excellent company to make figures for them. Again, so this is the only thing I really hated about the Star Trek figures when they made them in the 90s. The first wave I really hated because Riker's shirt was ripped, and I'm like, why would you want to buy a figure that a ripped? It's like buying a damaged good for a brand new price. Something about Worf was also bad, but I can't remember what that was. The great thing about these are faces were amazing, but I'm here to complain, because evidently that gets more likes. And again, my number one pet peeve is called the V crotch. And again, I can't show you very well, but it's like a V. It looks like a V. This is called a T crotch because, it looks like a T sort of. It's like the pin goes from here and it goes straight up and down. And the ball crotch is my absolute favorite as far as articulation is concerned. Gives you the best range. You can sit down. You can sit like with your legs spread if you need to, like riding a horse, which is completely normal. Or you can just get really good positioning on it. Which is your biggest pet peeve with action figures? He did nail one of them, which I don't have handy, but in the 90s, they did a lot of superhero figures where they were in fixed positions, basically. And if you try to put them in any other position, they just look stupid. But comment below, let me know what you think is your biggest pet peeve with action figures.